right, let's take a live look now at the Vatican. It's just past 4:11 in the afternoon. There you've had thousands of people who continue to wait hours and stand there in line to get into the St. Peter's Basilica to pay final respects to Pope Francis, who's now lying in state for one final day. You've got heads of state and royalty from around Europe and around the world set to gather in Rome for the funeral tomorrow. And among them, you've got President Trump, who's on his way now, the UK's Prince William, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. For more on this, let's bring in John Allen. He's the editor of Crux. You should know him well by now. Crux is an outlet that covers the Vatican and the Catholic Church. John, great to see you. What more are we learning about not just who will be at Pope Francis's funeral, but what the seating arrangement will be and what that says about the very specific rules that are in place?
Hi there, Errol. Well, we know that about 130 delegations from countries around the world are going to be represented here. We know that pride of place, so the first two positions in this sort of galaxy of potentates, will be given to Italy, that's the Pope's adopted country, and Argentina, the Pope's native country. So President Javier Milei from Argentina and President Sergio Mattarella, Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni from here in Italy. Then we will have about 10 kings, queens, and princes who will make up the next rows of seats. And then the other heads of state and heads of government will be seated in alphabetical order based upon the name of their country in French. So President Trump will be somewhere among the first third there. But, you know, an interesting footnote, Errol, this is one of the very few times ever that you will see the President of the United States at a public event in which he is not seated in the front row. Some might argue that's a useful dose of humility, Errol.
That's Pope Francis's thing, but a bit jarring, I would say, for a current U.S. president who is not necessarily known for that trait. Walk us through what we know about how events will unfold tomorrow, too, because the ceremony, an element of pomp and circumstance will also be a part of it.
Sure. So this is the funeral mass for Pope Francis. So in many ways, it is an ordinary Catholic mass, simply with a much larger congregation. We're expecting hundreds of thousands at a minimum to be gathered in St. Peter's Square and the surrounding area for this final farewell to Pope Francis tomorrow. So the Mass will be celebrated, and at the end, there will be the final commendation of the Pope's body, which is a ritual in which his remains will be blessed with holy water. Then he will be given a sort of final salute to the crowd in St. Peter's Square. Then he will be taken inside St. Peter's Basilica. Now, what is unique in this instance, because of the specific instructions and wishes that Pope Francis left behind, is that once this Mass wraps up, then the body will be taken through the Basilica to a waiting car, well, where it will begin a journey across the city of Rome to end up in the Basilica of St. Mary Major, which contains a very famous icon of the Virgin Mary to whom Pope Francis was especially devoted. It will be placed in a special tomb that has been prepared for the late Pope, bearing only the word Franciscus, his name. A footnote there, Errol, the stone for that tomb actually comes from a region of northern Italy where his great-great-grandfather immigrated to Argentina from more than a century ago.
Remarkable. John, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you this week on what's a pivotal moment for the Church and really for Europe and the world. Thank you so much, and we'll, of course, stay close in the hours and the days ahead. And for our viewers, we've got full coverage of the Pope's funeral tomorrow morning. It begins with Nora O'Donnell's historic interview with the Holy Father from last year. Pope Francis I will stream at 3 a.m. Eastern, and that will be followed by live coverage of Pope Francis's funeral. The CBS News special report begins at 3:45 a.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7 and on Paramount+.